how many of us want to make movies, and an emergency update to iOS and iPadOS. This is Mac Voices. This edition of Mac Voices is supported by MacVoices Magazine, our free Flipboard magazine that brings you the best Apple tech tips on the web. High in signal, low in noise, just like Mac Voices, MacVoices Magazine will help you do more with any and all of your Apple devices. Access MacVoices Magazine content in the free Flipboard app, on the web, and now in your favorite RSS reader. Find out more at macvoices.com/magazine. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. This is part 3 in a 3-part conversation with the Mac Voices Live panel about Apple's California streaming event. This time, we dig right back in the middle of a rather heated discussion about who wants to make movies, how they want to make them, whether there is a big enough audience for the iPhone's 13 to justify some of the extra features that Apple has built into the cinema and movie-making part of the device. We also touch, obviously, on the Apple Watch 7, and we discuss briefly the emergency update to iOS and iPadOS that Apple pushed out as a result of the Pegasus threat. So let's go right back and let the panel do the talking.
I want to be I want to be a person who makes awesome movies.
Right.
I'm never going to be.
But we're not
But I wanna.
we're not that big of a group.
The people who want to? No,
that
appeals to me too. But like as I said, I think if you took every single person that makes YouTube creation, that's not enough people for Apple to explicitly target.
That's not who she's talking about. She's talking about everybody.
Okay.
Everybody who has any inkling of aspiring to that.
And that's
I don't think that's that.
We're just making better
people
video.
don't want to. That looked like a lot of work. What Apple was showing. This is like if you want to really work really hard to make.
That's what aspirational
videos.
means.
People don't want to do that.
Yeah. So First of all, I want to correct an error. Frank got out of here without me thanking him because he had told me he had a heart out, and I was not watching the chat carefully enough. So Frank, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. I knew you were gone and you disappeared on me before I could say goodbye. But I do want to welcome in Brittany Smith, beautiful Brittany Smith. There you go. That's my adjective.
Okay.
Yeah. Brittany is trying to figure out why I said that. So you have to watch.
You're just alliterating tonight?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
It was Apple Media Event adjectives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Kelly is chaotic.
But we ran out, so I got chaotic.
Look at these gorgeous curves. Oh, it's an iPhone.
Yeah, they gave me gross, so
Yeah.
Not. I gave you gorgeous. What's wrong with you?
You got gorgeous. Yeah.
Brittany, you have
nobody got thinner and thinnest, lightest ever. I'll just point that out.
No.
After COVID, who would get that?
I know.
Brittany, though, we invoked your name earlier because of the new 13 Mini that we know you had jumping up and down.
Well, yeah. I mean, we kind of knew it was coming. So, I jumped up and down for sure the first year. But, I'm going to get it. But
the question is, are you pre-ordering?
Yeah.
That's not the question. The question is what color?
And what color? Yes.
There was no question she was getting one.
White. You get white.
I mean, I would put money on it. So
I believe in voting with your feet. If I want them to make more, I have to pre-order them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's why when Chuck asked last week, did it matter what the features were? I was like, it kind of doesn't, which is sad because it could have had better features. And I'm also in the I wish it were a Pro Mini, but alas. But yeah, like I'm the person who got a 6S and I was like, wow, this hurts my hand to use. I won't buy another new phone from Apple until that fits in my hand, which meant I had to buy a used one on eBay. But
Brittany, you said something interesting. I want to ask you what that means because I don't think we talked about that last time, and especially now in light of actually seeing what the 13 offers. What would make it a Mini Pro?
I mean, really, the only differences this time were the GPU accompanying camera.
Okay.
Right? Those are the things that set it apart.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's fair.
I don't
guys-
actually want the steel sides though, because that makes it heavier.
Right. We're running really short on time, but we always run along with these shows, but I don't want to let it go too long because we do have a request for a topic in the chat room that I definitely want to get to. But we have to talk just a little bit about the watch, if there's anything really to say. And I want to, I hate to characterize it that way, but other than the blood pressure sensor, blood oxygen sensor, I really didn't see anything. And and the larger face.
The
larger
less
face.
bezel.
Give me
blood
a
oxygen
utility
sensor
face
isn't
that
new, is it?
fills the
No.
modern screen size. That's all I want.
What did you say? Do that again, Mike?
And has a
Give me a
keyboard.
utility face that fills the entire watch face. That's all I want.
Oh, you know what I want is I want when you design a notification that's supposed to fill the screen, have it fill the screen, not scroll off the screen. Like the stand warning is bigger than my screen. The stand warning is bigger than your screen if you have the big watch. I have a 42, whatever it is. I have the little, whatever the current, like when they made them 2 millimeters bigger, I still got the smaller one of the two. And I've seen it on the big screen, and it still is more than a screen. Like it's dumb. And I just want it to fit the screen. That's all.
Okay.
And I'm excited about bigger screen because I like what I like to call the fire hose watch face, where there's one thing in each corner. There's one thing in each of the 4 corners, and then there's 4 more things on the center of the watch time thing. Yeah, I love that. And I wish there was some way I could jam more information in there. And it's super cool. I still don't know if I want one yet. I still really like my 4, and I don't need the oxygen meter, and I don't really care about the always on screen. So I'm holding out right now. We'll see how long that lasts.
Jim, you have thoughts on the watch?
I have a couple thoughts. One thing that kind of is interesting to me. I also have an iPad Watch 4. I'm happy with, but the one thing they mentioned that I was like, "Ooh, that could be a game changer," is 33% faster charging. Because I do wear it all day and all night, and it's kind of a I gotta like kind of think about, okay, when am I going to get the charging in? And 33% less charging time would actually be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a pretty big deal, I think. The other thing that I really noticed about the watch presentation was that I wasn't aware that I needed to keep my watch away from dusty areas. Because, did you see they made a point at like, oh, now it's much more dust proof and you don't have to worry about that. And I'm like, I was supposed to be worrying about that.
I think the rating just increased slightly.
But they said,
it had a rating before though.
Now they said now you don't have to worry about going into dusty areas, and I'm like, I wasn't worrying about that. Was I supposed to?
Am I supposed to be worrying about that now? Yeah.
Which seems weird.
But apparently they don't worry about the mount on the motorbike at all. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of unfortunate. That just a day after they issued all these warnings about vibrations on motorcycles, that they demoed it running around on a motorcycle or a
scooter and surfing.
So,
yeah.
That's very much more different.
I was also really glad the bands are compatible. Like some of the rumors were that they wouldn't be.
Yeah.
And I was like, that would be a fail. And I'm glad that's round too. I was kind of worried about,
the squares,
square
like the rumors are
idea
showing.
of a square. Yeah.
It does have a keyboard. You can have, people are going to be going on their watch typing that message, right?
Yeah, that's okay. Huh?
Does anybody remember the last time that was actually a thing? Because I do. And my dad had one of those watches with all the little letters, the digital watch, and like it had a little thing that came out right here, so you could push all the buttons effectively,
little Casio.
The whole thing.
The Casio,
yeah.
Guy,
And
you're
it was
quiet.
kind of stupid then.
I am quiet.
Yeah. The watch
I have
for you?
I have I have the 5, and I didn't see anything today that made me go, ooh, I've got to have that. So yeah, I'm gonna I'm going to wait another round, and we'll see what happens. Though I am going to get a iPhone 13. I just have to decide whether. Yeah, well, I was in Pennsylvania a week and a half ago, and my wife, believe it or not, is still on a 5S because she doesn't like big. I know that was just, every single year. I'm like, we can get you a new phone, and she's like, I like this phone, but it's now finally starting. It's starting to die. So, she'll accept my SE2. And I'll just go ahead and
it's a good size.
It is a good size. It's a little bit bigger, but not so much bigger that she's going to be like, oh, it's too big. So I'll go ahead and I'll get either the 13 Pro or the 13. I haven't decided yet.
Come on, you're going to get the 13 mini.
No, I've had this SE2 for I think almost 2 years now. And
it's been 2 years? Jeez.
Yeah, and it's a good phone. I really like it. It served me well. But when I'm doing, I know this is self-serving, when I'm doing Guy's Daily Drive and people are trying to talk to me, it's like, I can't see what's on that screen. I can't see it. And, if it's...
Or should you be?
Well, I shouldn't be doing it at all. I should be just driving the damn car. But, I don't. So... maybe the bigger screen.
You at least have a car with a few autopilot features in it, like keep you in the right lane or anything. Don't ram the car in front of you.
Nope, driving is job one. If you've never seen the show, I very rarely actually look at the camera. I'm driving the car, so that's job one. So I don't even think about that often. But I do think about it every once in a while. And when I glance at the phone and I see there's a comment up there, it's like, I would love to say, hey, thank you, Mr. Person who's watching me live, but I can't because I have no idea who it is because it's so tiny.
Guy, if you don't get a pink 13 mini, we live in the darkest timeline.
Well, yeah, I'm looking at blue.
There's already a risk of that.
Yeah.
There's not, though.
Andrew, Mike, you guys looking at upgrading or getting an Apple Watch 7?
Yes, I definitely think I'm getting into Series 7. I think I mentioned in the chat a while ago, the last Apple Watch I had was the Series 2, and I eventually resold it just because I wasn't really satisfied with it. But with this one, I mean, obviously from 2 to the 7 is a pretty big upgrade for me. So I think this one, I am kind of disappointed that it didn't have the kind of flat sides as the rumor suggested. I personally like the flat sides in the 12 and the 13. So I thought that would look kind of good on the watch. It matches everything. But I think I'm going to get the 7.
Mike, you in the in the market?
I've got a Series 6, so I am not interested in the Series 7. I do think that the Apple Watch is my favorite Apple product. I love the fact that when they talk about them, they can share those stories about how it saves somebody's life. You can't say that about an iPhone. But I feel like as much as they're pushing the technology forward, they're keeping one foot in the past, and that limits the value of the brand new watch. For example, I mentioned the utility face. Like, Apple made a big deal about the watch faces when it first came out, and they add a few new ones every year. They're not that great, in my opinion. I've worn a watch for a long time. Before I switched to an Apple Watch, I wear an Apple Watch every single day. I use it. Got to close those rings. I use it for training for races and stuff. So I definitely think there's a lot of value there as a fitness product. But it really bothers me that I have to pick like a single watch face and kind of stick with it. The utility watch face is still my favorite, and it boggles my mind why they haven't updated it so it fits the larger screen sizes. I really feel like that's a glaring that's a bad mark on Apple when you
or let anyone else make them.
Exactly. So if you're not going to update it, fine. But then let other people make nice watch faces. But when you get a new watch, you've got like the few new faces that they showcased, like the face last year that I was like, that's disgusting, but I'll see what else is here. Oh, it's all the old stuff. Oh, and it doesn't fit. Well, that's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I understand. Was it Kelly was talking about the one with all different widget areas?
The fire.
I get why
hose
people
face.
like that. I don't like that. I like the simple ones. So like the simple watch face and the utility watch face were kind of like my go-tos for a long time. And I was really frustrated when I went to the Series 6 and I look at those and I'm like, this just looks stupid because there's this big black border around everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I think it's embarrassing that the Series 3 is still around, to be honest.
Yeah. So that's
I can't believe they
Seriously.
kept that. I can't believe the SE did not get a discount. I mean,
Or a revision, like one of the two. That was kind of what I was surprised about with it as well.
SCs don't get revisions every year.
right. I figured the SE would go down though and take the spot of the Series
The
3 at the
3.
very least.
Yeah.
Or you have to give up
So-
on the price point. Nope. It's been embarrassing for a long time, and you have to keep updating anything you're selling for a few years, or you look like a jerk.
Exactly. And I don't know. I find it hard to take it seriously when they have like the combination of the watch faces and the old watches just sitting around, you know.
Yeah.
If they were all in with like trickling stuff down like they do a pretty good job with in the other lines, I think that would be a little bit different. But on one hand, they're saying, oh, this watch is amazing, and it is from a technical perspective. But then you got to take that with a grain of salt because that's just marketing speak, and they're not super serious about it, or they wouldn't be still selling the Series 3.
Well, I was going to say, like, it is amazing, but it's the same amazing it was last year and the year before and the year
Right.
before. And you haven't, like, yes, the blood oxygen thing is kind of nifty, but like from a utility standpoint, like the watch is basically the same as it has been. Like you could always lift your arm and send a text and set a timer and find out what time it is and see your next calendar appointment and those sorts of things. Like none of that stuff has changed. And if you don't have anything and get an Apple Watch for the first time, it's amazing and it's mind blowing and it's super great and all of it's wonderful, but you still have to have an iPhone. Like family setup does not change that. Like it still has to be tied to an iPhone, at least initially.
Right.
It's not its own independent device. You can't just hand them out to people. You know, that's literally the only thing keeping my Christmas this year from being very expensive, because I have a bunch of parents with a bunch of heart issues and like every one of them needs an Apple Watch and not all of them have iPhones. So there's a lot, like you said, on its own, it seems really great, but it's kind of been the same level of great for a few years. And that doesn't seem like, I love mine, but come on, like give me a revision here and there.
Yeah, the big thing I know with Series 5, Series 6 was the always on display, which I get why that could be a big deal for people. My Series 6 has always on display. I turn it off. I find it annoying.
I hear what you're saying, but I also think that because we didn't see a big jump in feature set or capability for the 7, that they just decided not to. They decided to sort of keep everything level, if you will. Since the 7 didn't jump up, then the SE couldn't come up or a good end price. And listen, just because the price is what the price is now doesn't mean it can't be heavily discounted either by Apple or by others.
And
So,
remember that the new watch hasn't come out yet, so they may adjust the prices of those older devices as availability becomes a thing.
Yeah. There are a couple things here, but I think to justify dropping the price or improving the SE or even the 3, that they would have had to have something to push you to the 7, and right now they just don't have that much. Brittany, you wanted to comment on the Series 3.
Actually, it was sort of a damning with faint praise a little bit, but not a little bit of a compliment. At some point, every bottom tier in Apple's line was embarrassing, and you wanted to find a way to steer your family away from it. And that is much less true than it used to be. Like there's no MacBook Pro hanging around with a spinning disc that you have to like warn everyone, oh my gosh, I know it says MacBook Pro, but please don't do that.
Don't buy that.
Yeah. And it seems right now that the Series 3 really has taken that spot. And I'm really proud of the other lines for not that as much. Once they get everything moved to M1, you can't have a spinning disc. I'm sure they'll keep some Intels around and they'll justify it, but as people need it for certain uses. But it did sort of make me reflect that, they don't have as many embarrassing bottom line products as they used to. Good for you. I'd like it to not include the Series 3 still, but progress.
But you know what? For a Series 3 to give, I'm sorry, but to give to a kid, to give one of these much more expensive watches, no, I don't think so. But if you give a kid a Series 3, a young kid,
it's the issues people have been having with upgrading them, and the issues it's putting through. Right. Like developers are having a terrible time with it, and it's caused some. I'm not enjoying this experience feels, which is not a good way to bring somebody into an ecosystem in many cases.
Series 3 seems like a giant middle finger to every Apple Watch developer. At least that's the ones that I know. That's how they've taken it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
All four of them.
That tracks.
Well, that's the thing. Like, you want this to be a platform that people care about or not?
Yeah.
Make it easy for people to develop for it then. Get rid of the Series 3, move the SE down, and then sell the 6 or the 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you could have gone to the 5 from the 3, and then everything has the always on face, if that's what you want, and just sort of get everybody upgraded, right? Because there are probably people like me who have a 3 or a 4 and might be considering it and might go to a 5. If it was $100 less than what the 6 or the 7 is, when the 7 goes available for pre-order, all that kind of stuff. Like, who's to say? Once they're finally available, that's the other, that was the other interesting thing to me about the watch thing was they're coming. We promise. Back to you, Tim.
Yeah.
Like that was
but as Guy said, we could see some adjustments. We could see some changes before things actually get released.
Sure.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Before we go around and let everyone know where we can find us, there was a request in the chat room, I believe it was from Webb, that he asked us to comment on the quote. I think, how did he say it? Was it the emergency update today?
14.8.
Yeah, the 14.8 update for iPad OS and iOS.
All over the press today.
Yeah, and basically, yes, as a PSA, update your watch now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And your phone and your Mac.
Phone.
Yeah, I've got my watch on the brain.
All of them. Do the
iPad, Mac, iPhone. Do it.
There's an update dance, and you need to do it for all the things.
Yeah. And just instead of just trusting us, we're talking about the much discussed Pegasus exploit that's out there, and from in my opinion, the most nefarious part of this is you can have this problem and never have to click anything. That's you don't have to do anything. It just can appear basically on your machine.
I think you have to view whatever the GIF is that gets sent to you.
But it could be sent to you in like iMessage, and all you have to do is like, because you're not like opening anything at that point.
Right.
Like it's just on your screen. And that's the reason this one is so scary. I had to write this up and send it out to people as part of my day job. And that was one of the things I had to explain was like, normally when you get email from us and we say like, this is a thing that's happening and it's really bad. So don't do this, like whatever it is, so that your gear doesn't get infected. And there's nothing I can tell you about what not to do in this case. And that's why you have to update now.
Yeah.
Love, Kelly.
Yeah.
Like that was basically how the email went, because that's what makes this one so
Nefarious.
urgent. and nefarious. That's why you have to do the update as fast as you can. If you're on Big Sur, make sure that you run the latest. If you're on Catalina, make sure you're on the latest. The thing I have yet to determine, and Andrew, we're probably going to talk about it on Friday. Spoiler alert. Is if you have anything older than Catalina, if you are susceptible, because that was the part I couldn't quite nail down, is it a thing that we just don't have a fix for yet? Or do you not have to worry about it if you're on 1014 or lower?
No one's on those machines ever.
Yeah. I think that there was a security update to Catalina too.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm talking about. Mojave and less. Like, I don't know if 1014 and down
I don't think so.
got any sort of updates, but I also don't know if they're
susceptible.
If they're susceptible to it either. Right. So that's the part I wanted to find out. But yeah, I've spent a lot of time on this in the last couple of days because it's one of the times when both of my jobs intersect, and it's very scary, and it's like a huge deal because there's nothing you can do about it, basically.
Yeah, this is almost like a Windows exploit from 20 years ago, where all you had to do was walk past your Windows machine at the wrong time and you'd be infected with something. There is no wrong. Typically with Mac viruses, it's you tell people don't just open attachments and all the rest of that, but in this case there is no warning that you can give to people. As Kelly was saying, it's if you get this and you view it, chances are you're infected. So update and do it now.
Seems like iMessage should have an option to not display attachments from people that aren't in your contacts. That should be a preference. I mean, Apple is basically just saying
that's really obscure, though.
It's really not. Given the
I think it
amount
should
of
be the
spam
default. I would
text
make
out
that
there.
the default. Yeah, it's like, anybody can text you. So what I would like if there was an option like that. In fact, I would say that should be the default. If somebody not in your contacts sends you an attachment, don't display it. That should be the default. Apple's assuming that we never will have a bug. We won't.
Well, but you get that option with phone calls. That's why I'm like, oh, that sounds like a really good idea, because you get the option to have phone calls not ring, but you don't have the option to have texts not.
Well, and you can also not answer a phone call, but if a text comes in,
right,
there's no way to block it. And we're sitting here saying, well, there's nothing you can do. And it seems like that's almost the biggest story is why is there nothing you can do? Why has Apple not provided us with any mechanism that we can do something even before they get to it?
Well, and we may have it, that may be something that we see in an update coming soon, because the interesting thing I found about this is everybody went a little bit crazy, but up to this point, the wisdom I've heard is unless you're an investigative journalist or a government operative, that you really probably don't have to worry about Pegasus, because this is going to be a more targeted thing. And now all of a sudden, everybody's going wild over it. Believe me, folks, I am not saying do not do the update. Do the update.
Do it.
Because I don't know if this thing is out there in the wild, like the Stuxnet worm, and is just, infecting phones all over the place or what. But
the additional piece of it is that, Andrew, what did we report last Friday on Security Friday? We talked about Germany.
Yeah, so
this is bought it.
This is a tool that is used previously. We first thought that this is a tool bought by this group called NSO Group, which is still true, but we thought these, authoritarian, fascist, bad governments were only the ones that were purchasing it to be used against human rights activists, journalists who say, report true things about them, etc. But as we did report last week, Germany, who is a democratic government, but they had purchased it too, and they had lied about it.
Yeah, for a long time. And part of the reason it's alarming is because this is one of those things that Andrew and I talk about all the time, where like it seems like a good idea while the good guys have it, but there's a time limit on that. And eventually the bad guys are going to get it. And who knows what the bad guys are going to be able to do with it. And your definition of good guy and bad guy can be totally different from mine, but that doesn't change the fact that somebody with nefarious purpose could get a hold of one of these tools and you're screwed. And it doesn't matter who you are. And part of what's alarming about this one is, again, there's nothing for you to do in order for you to get infected. And the amount of access that someone gets by doing this is alarming. You may remember Kara Swisher just wrote about it, and what she called it "Don't Get Bezosed," because remember there was a whole bunch of crazy information that somebody magically got about Jeff Bezos, and we didn't know where any of it came from, and it was all stuff on his phone. So that was part of what I thought is kind of the alarming thing about it, is that you also don't know what somebody could do with that information once they've got access. So that's why it's bad.
I agree with Jim. I think there should be those protections in iMessage where you should be able to choose, do you want to automatically download these attachments or not? Because we already have this in Apple Mail. For example, in iOS 15, we're going to get something called Mail Privacy Protection. One of the things that does it automatically filters these attachments through their own servers, kind of like the private relay feature where you get these attachments or other things like the tracking pixels and mails. So it can't know anything about you. But we still have also been able to already do that. There's setting you can do where there's this toggle that you can turn off where you don't automatically load these mail attachments. And I think I agree, you should be able to have that option in iMessage too.
Guys, as usual, we've taken a whole lot more time to discuss the announcements than the announcements themselves, which always seems strange, but it's just the way it goes.
We have opinions.
Yeah. No. Sorry. I do want to ask you to make one note, folks out there. We're doing a survey here at MacVoices to learn a little more about our audience. I will have a link in the show notes to that with all the details. Please check that out if you would. We'd love to hear from you. Get your thoughts on what you like, what you don't like, what you'd like to see more of, anything else that you want to tell us. We're not tracking you or anything like that. It's just we're asking for your feedback and your input. So please check that out. So with that, let's go around and find out where everybody can be found when they're not here delivering opinions on things. Yeah, having opinions. Yeah, there we go. And I'm not even going to try to do the adjective thing. So, Guy, where can folks find you?
Oh, Guy's Daily Drive, mymac.com podcast with Gaz, Mac Parrot, and Vert Shark over there on the Twitters. Podcast at vertshark.com and Vert Shark over on the Tubes of You.
Oh, okay. That had me confused for a second, Guy. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tubes of You. Okay. Yeah. David Ginsburg, where can folks find you?
In Touch with iOS at intouchwithios.com. We'll play more coverage of the event this week on the show. You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/DaveG65. You also can find me on the Mac Show on Fridays on the British Tech Network, as well as on Twitter at DaveG65. Great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Jim Ray, thank you for being here as always. Where can folks communicate with you?
I am not really on the Tubes of You other than this show. But you can communicate with me at proview.com and also on Twitter at ProviewJim.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim. Ms. Guimont, I know that you've mentioned several times that you do the Daily Observations podcast. Where else can folks find you beyond that?
I was trying to be subtle about that, Chuck. I wasn't.
Fail, Kelly.
I
Impossible.
wasn't no, I know how. I just was not. It just came up in conversation. So 5 days a week, I host the Daily Observations podcast over at the macobserver.com. On Fridays, Andrew comes on and we do Security Fridays, or Secure Your Stuff Fridays, as Nate over on Twitter likes to call it. And so you can find me there most weekdays. You can also find me over on the Incomparable Network, where I occasionally pop up on shows where we talk about all manner of pop culture stuff, usually Star Wars and things. And you can also find me on my own show there called I Want My MCU TV, where we talk about the latest Disney Plus streaming show from Marvel. And you can also find me on a recent episode of Clockwise with Dan Morin and Mike Sargent. You can find me the rest of the time making notes on my iPad Pro with my Apple Pencil, and also on Twitter as Verso.
Great. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Andrew Orr, where can folks find you?
Hey, thanks for having me. So like Kelly said, I am occasionally on the regular TDO episodes at the Mac Observer, but Security Friday is our regular thing. But I am also writing for the Mac Observer about Apple privacy, security, all that fun stuff. And on Twitter, my handle is Andrew or Not, where I'm just tweeting about kind of random things at this point.
Thank you, Andrew. Since you took over the security and privacy beat, you'll never want for a job. There's no question about it.
I agree.
Yeah. Mike Schmitz, thank you for joining in. I'm glad you got here to give us some opinions. What's the best place for people to communicate with you?
Well, you can find me in Woodstock, Illinois next weekend at MacStock if you are thinking about going.
With a few of us.
Yeah, I forgot to
it'll be
mention
fun. Most of my writing is at thesweetsetup.com. I am also on a couple of podcasts. One of them is associated with the Relay Network. I'm part of the podcast-a-thon that's happening on Friday. If I could real quick, I'd love to put a plug in for the St. Jude fundraiser that they're doing, if that's cool, Chuck.
Sure.
Because St. Jude is an amazing place the more that I learn about it. The average cost to treat childhood cancer, the most common form of it, is over $200,000. And St. Jude not only pays for the treatment, but they pay for the travel, they pay for the food, they pay for the lodging for all the families that get treated there. And it's personal for me because one of the co-founders of the Relay Network, Stephen Hackett, who I consider a friend of mine, he's had a son that's gone through that. So I am very honored to be a part of this fundraising effort. And if people want to contribute, every little bit helps. They've already passed their goal for this year. The Mac and iOS Apple communities are incredibly generous. So if you have even a couple of bucks to spare, go over to stjude.org/relay.
Thank you, Mike. Great cause. Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you for being here. We always appreciate it.
Thank
you
you.
and your bright yellow shirt.
Came straight from the soccer game. So,
oh, that's good. That's good. Brittany Smith also got here a little bit late, but we were so glad she came. Brittany, where can folks discuss your iPhone Mini with you?
Oh, well, if that's what you want to talk about, I'm here for it. On Twitter, I'm ADD Liberator. That is also what I am on YouTube. Thank you again, everyone here who helped with that. And if you're interested in my website, which is only slightly tech related, but it does have Star Wars, it's conquer.consulting.
Thank you, Brittany.
Thanks for having me.
I also definitely want to thank the chat room. They've been fairly active tonight. They've been having some of their own little conversations, and we just let them go and do their thing. But it's always great to have you guys. We also had a few more folks just showing up casually and not saying anything, but we could see you watching us. So thank you all for being here. We hope you'll make it a regular thing. With that, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live. We do this Tuesday nights, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. Come and join us every Tuesday. Tell your favorite smart speaker right now to remind you every Tuesday at the appropriate time to join us. Until the next time, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.